The Dice Tower is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. This episode is sponsored by the Op, also known as USAopoly.
The Dice Tower, episode 674, Durango.
Welcome to The Dice Tower, a podcast about board games and card games, and especially the people who play them.
In today's show, Eric Summerer joins Mandi and myself for a rollicking episode of The Dice Tower. We're going to talk about games that we've been playing, apps we've been playing, and we will wrap up with a game pie full of IP-based games. I'm Suzanne Sheldon.
I'm Mandi Hutchinson.
And I'm Eric Summerer, ready to rollick.
Yes, it's so exciting. I love these crossover episodes so much. Now,
Me
Eric,
too.
I gotta ask you, because you are such a dear, and I know that you make an effort to listen to all the episodes of the podcast.
Yes?
Have you figured out
Oh, my goodness.
what Mandi and I are doing with our epised names for the past?
No. And so you hinted that you were doing something, and I had gone back, and I've tried to solve the mystery, and I have been unable to do so. You have stumped me. Whatever it is that's going on, I applaud you, but I have no idea what it is.
Excellent.
Has anyone else figured it out yet? Have you gotten any mail?
One person.
Yeah.
Okay.
John Brown out there has figured it out.
I was
Clever
thinking
duck.
song lyrics of some sort, but I have not made that connection.
See, I didn't want to take song titles. We didn't want to go with that because that's what Marty and Tony do, right?
Right.
On Rolling Dice
Yeah.
and taking names. So we didn't want to steal that idea. It's a brilliant idea, though.
Are they movie sequels? No. Movie characters. Okay, hang on. I'm taking notes. You're
Okay.
gonna drop clues throughout the episode, right? Okay, got it.
Something like that. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of The Dice Tower. Mandi, you and I have been busy playing games. You from Canada, me from Seattle, Washington, and it's been going really well. Now, last episode, we mentioned that we'd started the My City campaign. Mm-hmm. Tom had already talked about this, but now we're digging in. We're about halfway through. Eric, have you played this?
No, I haven't even seen it. I've seen a couple of pictures of folks sharing it. I know it is a Reiner Knizia legacy-style game that has non-legacy elements, but beyond that, I don't know anything.
Well, we won't tell you much here because
Okay.
we don't want to spoil it.
Right.
But it's a fascinating thing. We've played maybe a dozen of the games now, Mandi.
12 games. Exactly that.
And we played the first chapter, 3 games, and we were all into it. And then we played the 4th game, and we hit a twist. Mm-hmm. And it, in no way, it didn't change my feeling about the game, but it was an interesting experience to go through. And we were kind of going, So I appreciate that the game threw a little loop to us. Now, I don't feel like that's a spoiler because it could just be something we hit on, but we've been having fun playing through that. We've got 12 more games to go, I think, Mandi? Is
I
that
think it's
24
a total
chapters?
Of 24. And I just want to jump in and say, I have yet to win any of these games and probably won't. However,
It's true.
I'm playing with 2 sharks, okay? Like, there's just no way that I'm going to win. But I am still enjoying myself, and I'm quite comfortable in my last place role. So even if you were like me and not as skilled maybe with these types of games, it's okay. It's still fun.
Well, what's interesting, Mandi, is that it's true from a points value point of view. You have not won. But
From a points value
I know, right?
perspective?
How else do you...
Like, by the definition of winning, you haven't won, but...
I've won in
well,
my heart,
it's interesting
Eric.
because if you had played Clank Legacy, Eric, I can't remember. You played Clank Legacy?
No, I haven't
No,
played
okay.
correct. No.
There's a separate track that you can earn progress on, and points are just one way you can earn progress on that track.
Oh. So victory was inside yourself all along.
Right. I've got another area that I'm going with that seems to be... Well, I'm hoping this will work. We'll see.
Well, and we have no idea how it ends, so it'll be interesting to see. And the only other thing I wanted to mention, because when I saw this news, I literally shouted out loud in my home when I read it on the internet, that Pandasaurus is bringing the game Ohanami over for distribution in North America. Now, cool. I reviewed Ohanami ages ago because it's a game I picked up at the Spiel in Essen a while ago. This is a game designed by Stefan Bendorf, who is one of my favorite designers, and the designer I terrified when I met him at Essen.
That still makes me laugh. I'm sorry. It was very cute.
I still remember you coming back to the booth and telling us all about how you terrified Stefan Bendorf.
He's a
just secondhand. It was great.
But keep an eye out for that one. It's a very clever drafting game where you're building out tableaus with some awesome scoring that really amps up the gameplay. So I was excited to see that. It's been a couple of years. I had lost hope. So keep your eyes out for Ohanami because I've already reviewed it. I'm not going to review it again, but I wanted to mention it because finally you have a chance to get it a little more easily over here.
I'm excited. It's in the mail. I'm counting down the days until I get it. I can play it, and then you and I can have a discussion about it.
So, Eric, you may not have played My City, and you may not have played Clank Legacy.
No.
But I think you've gotten a shot at a legacy game we haven't yet.
I did, but everyone can try it, and I'll explain it in a second.
Sounds awesome.
This episode is brought to you by the Op Games, also known as USAopoly. Today's featured game is Scooby-Doo Coded Chronicles. In Scooby-Doo Escape from the Haunted Mansion, players step into the roles of Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Inc. gang and work together to decode over 50 clues in order to find their way out of the Haunted Mansion in this cooperative at-home escape room style game. Each game offers a unique storyline and objective to provide a one-of-a-kind gameplay experience. You can get your copy of Scooby-Doo Escape from the Haunted Mansion at retailers today. You can get your copy of Scooby-Doo Escape from the Haunted Mansion at retailers today.
So, what have you been playing lately?
So I had to dig into the archives for this one. Well, it's actually not that old, but I haven't been able to play as many games as I'd like, the bigger ones. So I said, well, let's do a nice small one that I can play online with my friend, and it's been sitting on my shelf and I haven't talked about it. So I'm going to talk about Karuba, the card game. Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm looking at faces here. They're not impressed. So let's wow them with what I'm going to say next. Okay. It's designed by Rudiger Dorn. Art is by Klaus Stefan. And published by Haba Games. So if you're familiar with Karuba, I guess Karuba the original game, this is a more streamlined version, I guess you could say, of that because you're using cards. So players have their own deck of cards. And on those cards are going to be paths. And what you're trying to do is get the paths to connect. So your explorers can start at one end of the path, pick up some gems and stones along the way to make it to their corresponding temple. And then you score points based on how many of your explorers reach their temples and grabbing any stones in between there. On a turn, it's a bit different because you're taking 3 cards. So everybody starts with 3 cards. And the numbers on the left-hand corner of the card is what you want to look at because those are the numbers you have to add up to see how many cards you're going to get to place. So the player that has the higher value of the 2 cards, because you have to choose 2 of them, gets to put out 2 of their cards. The person who has the lower value, or other people at the lower value, get to place 1 and another one gets discarded. So you can see how having higher value cards is going to allow you to put more into your tableau, therefore getting to make your way to all of the temples, your explorers to make their way to the temples. And then at the end of doing all the cards, you're going to count out the score, how many of your explorers got to the temples, how many stones you got along the way, and whoever has the most points wins. That's it. I think I like this better than the original Karuba. Only because I find the original Karuba, it's good, it's a nice game. And I was talking to my friend Ashley, we were playing this together. We've played it a few times. And it's just one I think it's shorter. It's going to be easier just to get to the table. You can play it, no problem. It was a great lunchtime game. I think that's why it appealed to me in this case. The other original game, I did find it to be a little bit on the long side, and we both had discussed this as well. This one's a bit more portable. I mean, in this day and age right now, I don't know how good that is, but at the time, it was very good. So carrying it with you. So that being said, being the shorter game, it's a bit more accessible, so you'll have more people that are going to be more likely to want to play it. We also talked about cost. The Karuba, the original game, it was expensive. I don't know if you all were familiar with the pricing, but I think it was about $45 or so for that.
In Canada.
In Canada, yeah, for that game. This one is far less. I don't know the exact price. I think it's in the $20-ish range, but you're still getting the same feel of the game for less money. In having conversations with friends, we thought the original game was priced really high for the level of game that you were getting, and I find you can still get that level of enjoyment in the card game. So overall, for me, Karuba the Card Game, I like Karuba the original, but I think the card game is the one that's going to stay on my shelf.
Oh, cool. I actually feel the opposite of you.
Really?
I like Karuba the Card Game.
Okay.
But I prefer Karuba the board game. So, but I think you made really good points. That all makes sense to me, at least.
Cool. I've only played Karuba the full game once and haven't seen the card game. So
really?
I'll have to try it out. I need to play Karuba again. It was okay. It just wasn't something that I was like, oh yes, I need to own this game.
Right.
It was middle of the road for me.
Okay.
So as Suzanne mentioned, I got to play at least the beginning of a new Legacy game over Tabletop Simulator, and that is Pandemic Legacy Season 0. This is the upcoming new version from Matt Leacock and Rob Davio. This was intended to be sort of the demo. This is literally a demo scenario that has no spoilers whatsoever. It just sort of runs you through the basic mechanisms. There are no legacy elements to this. It's an overview of how this version of Pandemic Legacy differs from other versions of Pandemic. So that's as much as I'm going to talk about. I know nothing. I have not seen the actual version of this game. This is just what's available on Tabletop Simulator, and it is a free module on Tabletop Simulator if you want to try it out.
Wow.
If you already own it, you can go to the marketplace where you get all the simulators or all the modules for TTS, and Z-Man has put it out. It is official, and it's pre-set up. So you just load the thing and go. But this is what you would have seen if you had gone to Gen Con and they were demoing it there, and you sat down and here you go. Or I imagine they also ran this during virtual Gen Con. And this is what you would have gotten as a sampler. It's not the prologue of the game. I know the game plays over a certain number of months, and there is a prologue that sort of gets you used to the new mechanisms. This is different from that as well. This is its own thing, and it's available to anyone who has Tabletop Simulator. So this is... It's set during the Cold War. It's sort of a prequel to earlier Pandemic Legacies, but it does have a similar structure to most of the pandemics that we're all familiar with, where you've got 4 actions, and then you draw some cards, and then bad stuff happens, you draw threats, and then there's a mounting danger, which, at least at the beginning of the game, is represented by agents. They are starting to infiltrate cities, and if too many end up in a city, bad stuff is going to happen. So you have to go around and take care of those agents during the course of the game. The danger to your individual agents is called surveillance in this. Each city is going to have a certain number of surveillance symbols on it. It starts out that all of the Soviet cities, because there's sort of allegiances for the different cities of the world at the beginning of the game. You've got an allied and then a neutral and then Soviet cities. And they... many of the Soviet cities are surveilled at the beginning of the game. And if you start your turn in one of those cities, you're going to lose cards or take damage with your character. So you try to avoid that if you can. Your main goal is to achieve missions. And many of these are go to a certain city with a certain card and do an action, and that will complete that mission. Or bring a team to that city, and this is, you have to get 5 cards of a particular suit or a type and turn those into a team, which is like a little mobile van that can now drive around. You can spend actions to move them in different places. They can help take care of enemy agents. They can achieve objectives and do all of this cool stuff. So that's your main goal. But some of these missions have secret cities. Like, that the Pacific Rim region of the world has something you have to do, but you don't know what city it is. It's a hidden card that goes underneath the mission. There's only one of each card for each city, and there are only, say in the Pacific Rim, I think it's only 5 or 6 possible cards. And so as you draw those cards in the player deck, that knocks them out of contention for your destination. And so eventually you're going to try and trigger that, and you can either spend lots of cards to reveal the card so that you know where you're going, or you can take the risk that we think we know where it is and then reveal and possibly lose the mission because your team is in the wrong place. All these cards have multi-functions, your player cards, so they'll have a location where it might be a Pacific Rim card or a North America card, but it also has that city allegiance, and you may be collecting different sets. So one card may be useful for multiple different things. Transportation is a little bit different here. Flying into or out of neutral cities or allied cities or enemy cities are part of your difficulty. If you can't actually fly directly into the Soviet cities, you have to get there some other way. That all comes together to be an interesting puzzle. And I think the demo does give you a good sense of how these mechanisms are different, and it is an easier scenario. We really didn't have any trouble getting through this, and I think that's the intent. You're supposed to sort of go, oh yeah, okay, we can do this as a team, and walk away from the demo wanting to order the game, which I have done. I've ordered from my friendly local gaming store. So yeah, yes, if you want to give this a try, if you are anxious to see the new Season 0 like I was, you can download this demo scenario, spoiler-free, for Tabletop Simulator. But big thumbs up, can't wait.
That's awesome. I had no idea that existed.
No, neither did I. And I'm, as everybody knows, I'm not a huge Pandemic fan, but I have to say, I've been hearing really good things about this particular one. So now I'm thinking, do you think this will change my mind? I know you've just played the demo.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I mean, I guess I'd need to know. I think I played one or two versions of Pandemic with you. I think we played the flooding, the Norway Rising Tide. Right. Or was it Rising Tide or was it another one?
It was Rising Tide. I remember the colors on the board were very muted.
Yes.
Like a greeny, kind of bluey, browny kind of color. So I think it was Rising Tide.
What is it that has kept you away from Pandemic?
You know what? I don't actually know. I think I had such a good experience with, I don't remember who it was that taught it to me, but the Pandemic Cthulhu, I actually really liked it. And I don't know if it was because of the experience, because the person doing it, I have a feeling it was Sen Fung Lim. I'm pretty sure. It was excellent at just telling the story and making me feel really involved in the game. I really liked the way it was presented. I mean, maybe the theme had something to do with it as well. But other than that, I don't know. So I don't know if it's a theme-based thing or maybe it was just the way the game was presented. I have no idea. But I'm kind of feeling this whole legacy thing. So I thought maybe this might change my mind.
Well, I mean, you can wait for this one. You could try Legacy Season 1, which is very similar to basic Pandemic. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much in line with all the Pandemic releases at this point, so I'm an easy pushover here. But yeah, this could be a great entry point. I don't think it requires any knowledge of the previous games to understand this.
Okay.
You could jump in here.
I'm excited. I might give this a go.
Well, it wouldn't be an episode of the Dice Tower podcast for me if I didn't get to talk about a roll and write.
Of course.
Let's be real, right? Today, I wanted to talk about the upcoming Super Skill Pinball 4K. Now, this isn't available in retail for about another month. It's available in October, I believe, is what I saw. But I just can't wait. And I consulted with Eric on this, and Eric said it's okay. Go ahead and talk about it.
Okay,
so
to talk about that Eric. It's not out yet?
Right.
You're welcome, I guess. I just wanted to hear about it because I haven't played it yet.
I don't want to say I've played it. It's okay. Sorry. I'm excited. Do the thing.
Do the thing.
Do the thing.
All right. Super Skill Pinball 4K is designed by Jeff Engelstein. The art is by Gong Studios and it's published by WizKids Games. It's going to retail for $25 in the US. This is a pinball-themed roll and write game. And in the box, you're going to get dry erase boards. And one board represents the pinball table, and one board represents the backboard, the backing of a pinball table. These are double-sided dry erase boards. So there are actually 4 different pinball tables in this one box. There is a fantasy-themed table, a disco-themed table, a circus-themed table, and like a cyber robotic-themed table.
Nice.
That's just so, that alone was super duper cool. Like, they really pulled on some common tropes of the pinball world and put them all in the box, and I thought that was pretty cool. And you take the table board and set it, and then you put the backboard above it. So it even kind of lightly mimics sitting or standing at a pinball table, which was a pretty clever touch. In this game, you are going to roll 2 dice, and then players are going to choose what to do with those dice. It's really, really simple conceptually, because on this table, there are all sorts of different, well, it looks exactly like an illustration of a pinball table. There's all different features. So there are spinners and bumpers and ramps and drop targets and all of this stuff. And they all have dice values next to them, a variety of them. You're going to shoot your ball up, and then you're going to allocate your dice, which really means you're going to cross off different sections of the board. Now, to help keep track of where you are, you actually get these little plastic tokens that are half domes, and they are chromified. I don't know what the right word is.
Sure, they're very shiny.
Yeah.
They're so shiny. So when you put it's flat. It's a half circle, so it rests flat on your board. But when you look at it, it looks like a pinball rolling around your table.
That's awesome.
I love it. And so you're going to shoot this little pinball up, and then you allocate it, and then you leave that pinball there because the boards are separated into zones. And just like you do in pinball, the next turn you take, the ball has to slide down into the next zone, right? Because the pinball just doesn't bounce up north all the time. There's gravity comes into play. So then the next die rolls. Typically, the pinball has to descend, and then you allocate a die, so on and so forth. But as you're going through these different sections, there are bumpers. Well, guess what? Bumpers will just toss the ball around in that little bumper circle until you can't meet the criteria. So there are ways that you can stay in a zone. And that's exactly how real pinball works. As you get down to the bottom of the table, there are flippers, and there are out lanes, and there are in lanes. Again, those all have dice values, so you can kind of try to choose when you allocate dice there and kind of force the ball where you want to go. There are bonuses. So as you hit all the drop targets, you can unlock bonuses that you can leverage, and you just circle them on your board. You can bump the table. Oh my gosh. It's right. Yes. So bumping allows you to adjust the value of a die so that you can get the value you want. Great. But the next turn, you risk tilting.
Mm-hmm.
Just like real pinball.
Yeah.
And the way that works is that the amount that you bump, the next roll, there's kind of a comparison. And if you exceed that number, then you've tilted and your round ends. It's, oh my goodness gracious. So you're going to keep on bouncing this ball. You're trying to hit the different targets. You're trying to unlock the bonuses. You score points all throughout the game. So the thing that you're tracking on your backboard is that there's all these little circles or stars for points. So you're just keeping track of your points as you go. You have 3 rounds of play. It is likely that people will be on different rounds at different times, but you're all still playing off of the same dice. Okay. And when everybody has completed round 3, the game is over, and whoever has the highest score wins because it's pinball.
Uh-huh.
I am not a theme person. I love my dry Euros. I love my cube pushers. Theme schmeem for the most part. I have never played such a thematic roll and write game in my life. It's the way real pinball has been incorporated into the game is incredibly clever and thoughtful. And the bumpers and the drop targets and the bonuses and that bumping and tilting, it just so thematic, and it makes me enjoy the game even more, which is what a good theme does, right? Mm-hmm. It's not a perfect game to me. I think the biggest criticism I have is that it can run a little long.
Yeah.
Okay.
As you're going, you can maybe near that end of the third round, you're kind of building up to bonuses, but at that point on some tables, you've already knocked off a lot of the bonuses that are one-time use and all this other stuff. So maybe it runs a little bit long. But then again, I'm having so much fun playing pinball roll and write. It doesn't kick in that often.
Right.
So I think that that's probably my biggest criticism of it. And the second, not criticism I have, is that it's dry erase boards. Now, I may be the outlier, but anybody who follows along knows I actually prefer paper sheets in roll and write games.
Okay.
I laminate them and make them dry erase that way, but laminated sheets to me are more portable than what the thicker dry erase boards are. And in a game like Super Skill Pinball, you can play with any number of players.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so only having 4 players like materials in the box is kind of a bummer because there's so many scenarios where this would be great to play with more players than 4. And so on one hand, I get it. It's only $25. So I think it's a fair price point for what you get.
Absolutely.
But I kind of wish it was paper sheets, but that's a very personal thing.
Maybe there'll be a print and play like bonus table.
Well, that would be brilliant.
Yeah.
And Eric, that points out something really important, that WizKids is awesome because they did make a couple of tables available to download for free.
Wow.
It's not all arty and stuff like that. There's no color. It's all pretty much black and white. But if you go to the WizKids website, you can download, I think it's the Cyber table and the Circus table and play at home without the game, which is such a great way to get to try the game. Or if you're playing with a larger group and you have just one set of the game, you can download those sheets as long as you're playing on those tables. So
Cool.
An awesome thing. I love this game. It's thematic. It's fun. It's clever. There are interesting choices as you're trying to maximize on the dice. I think it's well thought through, beginning to end. The tables are different. They do offer different bonuses, different table things. Like there's this one ramp that I keep on trying to do and often fail because it's hard to hit, but I can't help myself. If you like pinball and you like roll and write games, this is a no-brainer to pick up. If you like roll and write games, it's a really great roll and write game. And if you like pinball, but you're not so sure about roll and write games, you still might want to check it out because it's so thematic and awesome.
But can you trigger multi-ball?
Yes! Yes, you can!
Oh, yeah,
You
you forgot,
can?
like, the best thing ever.
Yes, there is multi-ball! And it is awesome!
Well, now I really need to play this game.
Well,
And Eric, it's so funny because that's totally my strategy in any pinball game in real
Yes.
life or in the roll and write game was to unlock multi-ball.
Get multi-ball. It's delicious
Yes.
chaos.
Yes. And it's awesome.
I don't know how you keep all those balls rolling. Yeah, rolling.
Thank you, Mandi.
No problem. I had to throw it in there, you know. Everyone needed a little bit of the corn. Come on. Okay, well, since we're talking about food, I would like to talk about delicious chocolates. Truffle Shuffle. This game, I just looked at it and I said, I want to eat a box of chocolates. So delicious. So this is designed by Molly Johnson, Robert Melville, and Sean Stankovich. The art is by Dylan Mangini, and it's published by Alderac Entertainment Group. So in Truffle Shuffle, it's a bit interesting. There's a bit of a setup going on here. In the game, you're trying to, it almost reminds me a little bit of poker, I guess you would say. Would you say that, Suzanne? Closer to that neck of the woods.
Yeah, sets like that.
Sets,
Sure.
right. So this is what you're trying to do, basically try to get really good sets to get points based on cards that you acquire from a tableau of cards. And the tableau of cards is set up every round. So there are 3 rounds that are going to happen in the game, and at the beginning of every round, you're going to set this up. So I think it starts off with 4 cards face up, 5 face down, then 6 face up, 7 face down, or something along those lines. But that's the idea of how the tableau is set up. And on a turn, what you want to try and do is take cards from the tableau that are available. So you get to take a card, but there are also modifier cards that allow you to take more or potentially skip a turn and take more on your next turn. So you have to be careful when you're taking cards that are available because you may be opening up cards to make available for other players, allowing them to complete sets. Because remember, completing sets, kind of like poker style, you know, having 5 5s of the same color, for example, is going to get you more points than maybe having a pair of 2s that are different colors. So you want to try and get those kind of bigger sets to get points. So after the 3 rounds, then you calculate money, I think is what's used in this game. Specifically, whoever has the most money for completing all their orders wins the game. So this falls into the same kind of vein as Point Salad. It's not the same game, let's just be clear, but it has the same kind of feel to it. So it is one of those lighter games. This one does take a little longer to play. I think it says 15 to 30 minutes on the page for length of time. No. I think it's closer to the 30 to 45 minute range. Now, we were also playing it online, so yes, that will add time. But to set up the tableau every round, you know what I mean? It takes a bit of time. I mean, a minor nuisance, I will admit, setting that up is a bit of a pain, but it's a minor nuisance because the game itself is quite good. I think we had fun playing it, Suzanne. I don't know what your thoughts are on it, but did you enjoy it? I liked it.
I am so impressed by this design group at this point. Point Salad is brilliant, and Truffle Shuffle is a phenomenal follow-up. It's such a simple game, and it just sings. But I also really love that drafting mechanism in the tableau and the fact that some are face down and some are face up. It all just clicks together as you're making choices about where you're pulling from. I think my biggest criticism of it is some of the scoring feels a little bit fiddly as you're trying to figure out, okay, is 4x4 means 4 4s and 3x3 means 3 3s. Once it clicks, you've got it, and it's not a big deal. But your first few plays could actually be a little rough around some of those kind of details because you associate it with a game like poker. And you kind of put that in your mind, and this subverts some of the broadness of the poker scoring. And so it just took, at least for me, it just took me a minute to adjust. But yeah, genuine pleasure playing this game. It's a lightweight game. I have not played it with my kids yet, but I'm looking forward to teaching them because I think it's something that they can play. But it's absolutely at that level where I will play this with adults as a really nice filler game. And Truffle Shuffle was a hit for me for sure.
So, and coming back to what you said, there is a player aid, but I know that there were a couple times we had a bit of confusion on a couple of the hands that you were talking about, like whether it's 5, you needed 5 5s to make a set versus having 4 5s, so there were some specifics that were not super clear there, but you're right. Once you got it, it was easy to kind of get into the game. So Truffle Shuffle for me is a win. It'll be right on the shelf next to Point Salad. I definitely can't wait to play more of it. Card quality on this one I do find to be better than Point Salad. So just keep that in mind, because I know playing Point Salad, my cards started to see a little bit of wear because I find them a bit thin. The ones in Truffle Shuffle are quite nice.
Cool. Well, my next game is also about food, but some unrecognizable food. This is Space Battle Lunchtime. It's a game by Renegade Game Studios, designed by Daniel Solis, and it's based on an Oni Press graphic novel, like many games from Renegade. It's by Natalie Reese, is the author and illustrator of Space Battle Lunchtime. In the game, you are representing a chef who has been kidnapped by aliens and forced to compete in an intergalactic cooking competition. It's a set collection and order fulfillment style game. You are collecting ingredients. There are cards with various ingredients on them, ranging from 1 to 3 of a particular type. There's 5 different types: sweet, sour. What are the other types in here? Different flavors that you're trying to collect. And then there are dishes on the table with lovely illustrations and names like Tasty Hexagons, Pan-Fried Space Bass, Chickenish, Beef or Not, Moon Pudding. There's some telepathic twist. Who knows? And each of these dishes requires a certain combination of ingredients, I think ranging from 3 to 5. Yeah, 3 to 5 ingredients of different types. And on your turn, you do one of 3 actions. You can take a single card, steal a card from what they call the larder. There are 4 face-up cards and a face-down deck. You can simply take one card from any of those spots, one of the 4 face-up or the 1 face-down from the top of the deck. Or you can sell one of your ingredients. Your ingredients have a number from 1 to 3 on them. You can get rid of one card and take that many cards from the face-up cards. So that's a good way to cycle more quickly. Or you can fulfill an order, and that is simply discarding the proper number of ingredients from the various cards that you have. You can do a order at gold level, which means you are fulfilling it exactly right, the right number of ingredients and the right flavors in the proper quantities, and that's going to earn you the most points possible for that dish. You can also do it at silver level, which is all the right flavors, but not necessarily the right quantities. Instead of 3 and 1, I do 2 and 2 of the 2 flavors that are required. That earns me a few less points, but I have completed the dish and maybe taken it from somebody else who's about to fulfill it themselves. Or I can go for the bronze level, which is the right number of ingredients, but who cares what flavors you used? If there's 5 dots on the card, any 5 flavors will do, and it'll earn you bronze level points. If you also fulfill at gold, you get to trigger one of the judges. There's 3 judges on the table, and they sort of preside over 2 dishes each. There are 4 face up. And when you fulfill one at gold level, you can choose one of the judges that are above that dish and trigger their ability, which might be stealing another ingredient or fulfilling a second dish or upgrading one in your pile already. There's I think 6 different judges in the game, and you can do a random setup. You can put different sets on the table for some variability as you play. And it's ultimately a race to 21. Once somebody reaches 21, you finish out the round and see who has the most points. And that's about it. The game plays relatively quickly. I'd say about half an hour or so. Mm-hmm. It's really a good clip. It is, I think mechanically it all works. It has that tension of I just grabbed some ingredients. Do you fulfill an order worried that I might take that before you get a chance to do it? Sort of that Ticket to Ride style of tension, having public goals, but knowing what people are drawing, it is pretty cool. If you're like a fan of Space Battle Lunchtime and you are looking for a wonderful implementation of the theme of that novel, I don't know if that's quite here. This is a very mechanical game. It's basically set collection, and other than those lovely illustrations and titles of dishes, there's not a whole lot of connection to the interstellar cooking competition theme. It's sort of like, okay, special powers, set collection, got it. Still, that works. And if you're looking for a rapid set collection game with some very lovely illustrations of tasty hexagons and jam-topped rock cake, then Space Battle Lunchtime is the game for you.
Sounds kind of tasty. Dishes.
I think maybe I've seen lots of pictures of people playing Truffle Shuffle,
right,
holding chocolate.
Yes.
I have not seen anyone playing Space Battle Lunchtime holding a rock cake.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, so
we'll have to put that out as a public challenge.
Yes.
Well, to wrap up games played, after our last episode where we did a game pie on trick-taking games, we got a lot of really great feedback and input, and it's very clear that trick-taking is a much-loved style of game in our community. And I realized, well, I've got a trick-taking game I've got to talk about, and that is Nokosu Dice. Mm. This is not a roll and write, people, I promise. This is designed by Yusuke Matsumoto. The art is by Sai Beppu, and it is published by Quoth Games. This is one of the games that I've imported out of Japan, but it is available in the North American market through a company called Big Cat Games, which is a small shop that is specializing in making Japanese games available to the West. And on that site, it retails for $25. Nokosu Dice plays 3 to 4 players. And basically, you're going to have a deck of cards that have colors or suits on them, essentially. And then you've got a bunch of dice that match those colors. And what this is it is a trick-taking game that uses cards and dice, and it basically uses dice as cards that you can play as part of the trick. So you're going to get dealt out your cards, and then you're going to get 2 random dice, and then a bunch of dice are rolled and put into the center of the table, and you draft those dice until you have 5, and then you just play a fairly standard trick-taking game. But the die that is left on the table, because after all the dice are drafted, there's 1 die left in the table. The number and the color of that die is the trump suit and number for that round.
Oh.
And so if the die left on the table is a yellow 5, then any yellow will be the trump suit. But the number 5 will also be the trump suit. And there's kind of a cascading hierarchy, right? If it's a yellow 5 card, well, then that's going to be the uber card. But then if you play a pink 5 underneath it, right, that's also a trump suit, that kind of thing. The trick-taking play is actually fairly standard in terms of following suit and high card takes it and all that other stuff. At the end of the game, you're going to get points for every trick. The way that this works is you're going to get points for, you're going to have 1 die left, and you're going to have points for the die number that you keep if it matches the number of tricks you take. So it's kind of a bidding trick-taking game, and it's mind-blowing what that does. I love bidding trick-taking games in general, but this one just puts such a twist on it. Your points are going to vary based on the number of players that accomplish that feat. It is a trick-taking game where you can go nil, which if you've played trick-taking games, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you don't play trick-taking games, then you're like, what the heck is she talking about? Going nil means you take no tricks.
Right.
It's exceptionally difficult in this game. I have tried. Now, maybe I'm just bad at it. That's fine. I'm willing to accept that. But I think it's exceptionally tough to do, but you get bonus points if you manage to do that. You're going to play through 4 rounds, and Bob's your uncle, points wins.
Bob's your uncle.
Ooh, good one. Nokosu Dice is incredibly clever. Game designers always impress me. And this is just an example of why. I never would have thought of doing something like this, where random dice, matching card colors or suits could be played together as a trick-taking game. And it works. I wouldn't recommend this, though, as a entry trick-taking game if you're not familiar with the mechanism. It's just more complex than that. There's so many elements that you're calculating as you're drafting dice and kind of assessing your hand before that, and as you're playing it through, keeping track of both a numerical and a suit trump value, all that stuff. There's just a lot going on. But if you are a fan of trick-taking games and looking for a significant but engaging twist on a formula, Nokosu Dice is excellent. I've absolutely loved this game. And you can get it, which is nice. Sometimes I talk about these import games and they're impossible to get, but this one you can actually get. So there you go.
Very cool.
This has been on my list. I've been trying to get it. So I was like, Suzanne's talking about this game and I can't get it. So I'm very happy to hear that I can get my hands on it.
Alrighty, folks. Enough of this analog stuff.
Enough of it.
Never. But we do have some digital games we want to talk about. So let's mosey on over there.
I'm moseying. I'm saving while I mosey them. And now let's look at the digital side of board gaming with Tap That App.
Okay, well, as of late, I have actually been playing a lot of apps. I know, I can't play the actual physical games. Lots of apps, not a bad thing. So, we played this recently on the Dice Tower for an Apptastic, but I thought I'd talk about it here. Roll for the Galaxy. And I believe this is available on Steam, Android. I couldn't find, Suzanne, is it available on iOS? This I was struggling to find.
It should be.
100%. Yes, okay. Absolutely.
Okay. Oh, and look at that. I found a price. So $18 on Steam, and this runs for about $9.99 on Android and $9.99 on iOS. So I had this is like a blast for the past. I hadn't played Roll for the Galaxy for a long time. If you look at the stream and our first little playthrough of it, you can very much see that I was very bad at it. But once I got into the swing of it, it was great. So if you've never played Roll for the Galaxy, it's a dice game and you're building space empires. And I know the physical game plays 2 to 5, and I believe it's the same thing here. Your dice represent your populace, and you want to direct them to develop new technologies, settle worlds, ship goods, and maybe the player who manages this world the best will win the game. I liked the layout of this. I hadn't played it for a long time, so Suzanne was very kind to take me through, okay, this is how this works, the interfacing. And once you got the hang of it, I thought it was really good. But even up front, before she started explaining, I would just click on something. Oh, great. It gave me more information. It was very easy to find things and understand. Even though I hadn't played the game in a long time, it really started coming back to me quickly. Thank you, Suzanne, for the explanation. But also the application lent itself to kind of making that learning process go a little faster. So I thought they did a really good job with this. It's lots of colors, information, even the menus are very easy to find. I have it on Android, but I played it mostly on Steam. So definitely having the bigger interface works. I have seen it on a smaller screen, and I still think it was easy to find everything. So overall, I really liked this application. I'm pretty sure Eric and Suzanne have also played it. I don't know. I think I'm correct in saying that. I'd be curious to know what your thoughts are on this app.
I played the pre-release, the beta version of this. Okay. So I have not played the full release version. I was a little bummed to hear that it got released because now I have to buy it. But my son and I, my youngest, 9-year-old, played this a good bit, and he had no trouble understanding the system. There's a really nice auto click feature where it sorts your dice for you already. You do the roll and then just go click and zoop, all of the symbols that match are already where they are, and then you can make the decisions on the few dice that you need to drag around.
Yes.
Which does speed things up significantly, especially later in the game when you have a whole bunch of dice that you're rolling. And it's graphically, it all works, and it speeds things along. And like you said, when you need help, you can find that help, and it's nice and clear. So it is a purchase I will be making for the official version that's now out.
Yeah, it's a blast. Temple Gates is just so impressive. And what I want to point out, as I like to, especially with companies like Temple Gates or Digidiced, is that they really do put an extra focus on AI play. Mm-hmm. They really work very, very hard and are some of the best AI programmers working in the space right now. And I really appreciate that too. I will say I've had an absolute blast playing it with friends.
Wait, did
online.
You say
I think she said absolute blast.
Yes, that is what I heard.
She did, and that's a pun by Suze. Okay, got it.
No, it's not.
I think it was.
So is.
We both heard it.
Yeah, we heard it.
Absolute blast.
That's a good one. I like that one.
It's a good game. I like it. Can we move on now?
Okay.
My app
Suze, before you go, I think you're looking at Finished and not Friday.
Yes.
Okay.
I realized that as I thank you.
You got it.
Thank you. Notes. Show notes. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Yes, that's why they're here.
Exactly.
My app, as Eric rightly pointed out that I had written incorrectly in the notes, is Finished, a Friedman Freeze game that just released on iOS. Apologies, I have no indication that it is on Android, and quite frankly, no indication that it's going to be on Android anytime soon.
Oh, okay.
Because the other apps by this developer don't seem to always make it over. But if you have an iOS device and you like Finished, hey, maybe this is an opportunity. So Finished is a free-to-download game. So it costs you nothing to give it a whirl. And then there's like an IAP that lets you remove ads. And then that's the trade-off. If you just play the free-to-download, you have a little banner ad that runs along the bottom of your screen. Finished is a solo card game in real life where you are trying to... you shuffle up a deck of cards, and then you're trying to get this deck of cards back in the proper order, numbered 1 through 48. The mechanisms are you basically deal out 3 random cards, you can sort them, and then you can either tuck them away or you can potentially push them up. And every time you go through this deck, when you hit the 48 at the bottom of the deck, you're going to have to drink a cup of coffee and spend one of your coffee tokens. If you spend all your coffee tokens without properly sorting the cards, then you lose the game. If you properly sort the deck 1 through 48 and you still have coffee tokens, you have won the game. Some cards have candy icons on them in which you can gain candy tokens, and you want candy tokens because then there are cards that let you put candy tokens on them to leverage a special ability by pushing your rows of cards up and down or cycling them through, etc. In real life, this is quite a nice solo game. I really do like it. I really like that there's like Finished, and Eric, you know some of these, Fire and...
Yep. And Friday is the other one.
Okay.
Yep.
Right. These solo card games that I've just found I really, really enjoy in general. And you can imagine it would make a great app experience, a solo little app experience that you can play. So this is what I will say about Finished. The cards mirror the art that you see in the finished game. If you like that style of art, great, it looks the same. If you don't care for that style of art, it looks the same. Mechanically, the gameplay is all there. Just the way that you play in real life, it's exactly how it works in the app. I think it takes a little bit of work to familiarize yourself with the app. I would say the app is very feature light. It's not a bells and whistles app. This is an app that throws the game down on your screen and lets you play. It took me a little bit of work to familiarize myself with, okay, I tap on the deck, or how do I get the candy out here, things like that. But it does work. I personally think the effort to familiarize myself with the app was worth the payoff, because I like Finished and I like playing solo card games on my phone. Onirim, Friday, I've played both quite a lot on my phone. McKee, these all play great as apps. I wish the app had a little more polish, but it's free to download. There's no cost to give it a try if you have an iOS device. I will also say I am terrible at this game. I am just awful. I'm here being transparent with you all. I have never won this game, but I'm still trying. There is a nice little daily challenge in the app that you can play and then compare high scores with other people that, by their usernames, that kind of thing.
Right.
So Finished, if you like Finished, it's got an iOS free to try app. And I personally really enjoy it.
I'm happy to hear this. Because I have an iPad. I have an Android phone, but I have an iPad. I didn't realize it was free. This is actually one of those solo games. I don't play solo, but I liked the art. I liked the concept. So yeah, I think I might have to get this one.
Yeah, Finished is, I think, my second favorite of Friedman's solo games, Friday being the best. I felt the Friday app was also kind of rudimentary and felt maybe you've played a later version of it, but when it first came out, it worked, but it didn't have the polish, as you say, that some of these other games. So if you feel that this one has even less polish than Friday, I still think I'm going to look at it because it's free. Why not?
Yeah,
Exactly right.
But it is the basic or the physical game is very cool, and I think I've only won once, so it is a very difficult one.
Phew.
All right, so coming to my selection, remember like many weeks ago when the three of us were on a panel doing a live top 10 list about apps with our friend Tom? I don't think I've played any new board game apps since then.
Oh, no.
And that was a long time ago. So I thought I would circle back to, we've all discussed escape games and the, that trend that's been going on in the industry. And one thing that I have said a lot about some of my favorite escape games is it makes me feel like I'm playing some of these point-and-click adventure games. And so I want to talk about an easy entry into that genre, which is called Great Escapes. It's published by Glitch Games. This is available on iOS. I think some of Glitch Games' products are available on other platforms, but this is specifically an iOS release. And this one is free to try. I think you get 3 little mini adventures, and then you can do some in-app purchases to unlock more packs. Each of the Great Escapes adventures is a small escape room.
This sounds so cool.
Yeah,
you enter a single room, and your job is to get out. You are walking around and looking at various perspectives. You have a camera. Glitch Games is known for their camera, which lets you take a screenshot and then write notes on it, bring up those screenshots while you're looking at other things. It's a really nice, intuitive way to collect data and then use it somewhere else. These games are always about sort of pattern matching and thinking outside the box, maybe a little bit of wordplay. They always have a little bit of a twist and a tongue-in-cheek perspective, but they are quick little adventures that you can try out, play through all of them if you like them, and then look at the rest of the Glitch Games catalog because they have one called Forever Lost, which is one of the pinnacles of this genre of games. So if you've enjoyed all of these escape room games on your tabletop, check out Great Escapes and the other stuff from Glitch Games. I love them.
So I admit I was a little distracted, and I started to multitask as you were talking because I literally downloaded it.
You did? I wrote it down. Okay, you were quicker than me. I just wrote it down.
Nah, I got my little device right here.
There you go.
Thanks, Eric. I appreciate that.
You are welcome. They have a great hint system, too, so if you get stuck, they will guide you through.
Hey, what are you implying, Eric?
No, that's for me. I need all the hints I can get, so that's very good news.
Order up!
And now, it's time to order up a slice of game pie.
All right, so we had a really, I feel, successful game pie last time. I mean, they're always fun, but last episodes was just blown out of the water. People really love trick-taking. I feel that was the thing. We're going to do a part 2, by the way. I don't know if Suzanne agreed to that or not, but we are. And maybe Eric will join us.
Okay, noted.
So there you go, throwing that out there. But today, we're going away from trick-taking, and we are going into the world of IP. So we're taking a slice of that IP games pie today. So I think our lists are pretty different. So I'm curious to see what you all think of them. So I think Suzanne's up first.
All right. First off for me, and I will just lead off by saying I'm not huge into IP-based games, licensed IP games. So I didn't have a ton to choose from as I was thinking through my collection and what I play. But the ones that I have, I really actually like. So this was fun, actually, when it all got put down onto digital paper. First up for me is the Ghostbusters Protect the Barrier game.
Wait, before you start, can I do a little something?
Yes.
Dun, 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 dun. Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters!
Ghostbusters, I believe.
Yes. Okay, all right, now you can continue.
I'd expect no less from you, Mandy.
Thank you.
Ghostbusters Protect the Barrier is actually a re-implementation of a really lovely game called Ghost Fighting Treasure Hunters. Mm-hmm. And honestly, it's a pretty direct port of Ghost Fighting Treasure Hunters, which is a cooperative game, and basically you're watching how many ghost figures pop up and rooms become haunted, and you're rolling dice, and you want to escape the building with all 8 of your PEDs before the whole board is haunted, and then you win. It's cooperative, if I didn't mention that already. It is a roll and move, which sounds bad, but it actually isn't. It's totally great. It's totally fine. It is a lovely, wonderful, cooperative game that I've really enjoyed playing with my family, and the Ghostbusters theme fits perfectly. It all makes sense in context. It's a theme that fits the gameplay, and I really enjoy it. So that's Ghostbusters Protect the Barrier.
The pieces are really cute on this one, too. You got the different Ghostbusters, and the ghosts are well molded, and it really feels like you're playing with toys, really.
Oh, cute.
I think that's a great point.
There's toys in my game as well, and I feel a little bad because I got to the list first, and so I put down what were, to me, my obvious choices, and then made Mandy and Suzanne pick other things. So when I think of what makes a good IP-based game, a property, bringing it to life on the tabletop is making me feel the emotions that a character would feel in that production, whatever that is, whether that's memory or nostalgia or feeling like the characters in the game. And Battlestar Galactica is sort of the quintessential example of doing that, because the BSG show was all about this paranoia of who is a Cylon. Which of these people are against us, against humanity, and secret traitors, some of them that don't even know they're traitors at the beginning of the plot. And that was very, it pervades the entire show. And it does so in the board game as well, as everyone is supposedly working together to work the Galactica through various jumps to get to its ultimate destination, and has to deal with various crises. But at least one of you is working against the group. And who is doing that? Did somebody play a card because that's the only card they had? Or because they have been working against you the entire time? And there are some tremendous moments as accusations fly and identities are revealed that really bring to mind what I felt while watching the show. So Battlestar Galactica is my first selection.
I've heard excellent things. I have not played this one, but I've heard a lot of people talk a lot about this game and saying how amazing it is. So is it a lengthier game, Eric?
It definitely is.
Okay.
It can be, and as you add more expansions, there were, I think, 2, if not 3 expansions that added more. As the show went on, they would sort of add on more layers of new destinations and new mechanisms and stuff. And if you play with all of those expansions, it's going to take a while. And if you play with too many players, it's going to take a while.
Got it.
But somewhere around 5 players is a nice sweet spot. 5 or 6, I think. Is a good way to play.
And this is a lovely example of a game is for someone, but not necessarily for everyone.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, I will say this is a fantastic example of an IP game. It is one that I no longer play or no longer own because I couldn't get it to the table because of its playtime.
Right. Right.
So I made someone very happy by selling them the entire Battlestar Galactica collection because it is out of print.
Oh.
So I think he got a good price on it and is happily hunting Cylons now.
Well, we're going to go to the other end of the spectrum and go into the world of art. So this is the lightest game, I think, on my list, but Bob Ross Art of Chill game. So a lot of people are probably wondering, really? I liked it. I mean, I liked Bob Ross as a child. I remember watching it, and I don't know if it was PBS or one of those channels where he was doing the painting. Someone can correct me on that. But it was relaxing, and I really enjoyed it. So when they came out with a game, I was like, okay, what's this going to be about? And, well, it's literally that. You're trying to collect paints to meet the requirements to make these specific set-out paintings. And it's super thematic because it uses a lot of the terminology, I guess, or some of the things that Bob Ross might have said. What were some... It's escaping me now, some of the things he used to say.
The happy little trees.
That's it.
The names of the colors are also very Bob Ross too.
Right, exactly. So you could, you're playing, you're like, oh yeah, I remember that. And to me, that says, oh wow, they're really pulled on to that IP and really pulled from that. So I thought this game was light, it was fun. We all had a good laugh while we were playing it. And I think that's the most important thing. So Bob Ross, Art of Chill game, definitely a fun one that I like to play.
And I think the end of the game even says, somebody wins because they have the most points, but really the most important thing is that we all had a good time. It literally says it in the rules that everybody wins.
You can't get better than that.
It's embracing the theme tremendously. Yeah,
exactly. Thank you.
Well, not as peaceful as my next slice.
No, this one's stressful.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, you play Bob Ross after you play this game to relax, right? And that is XCOM, the board game, which is one of the first board games that I felt got a lot of traction for having full app integration. And I think they did so well with it. In XCOM, the board game, you have an app, and the app allows you as like the captain in a role to control the action, and then all the other players have roles around this board, and you own a different task set, whether it's shooting down the aliens or researching technology and all this other stuff. You're working as a team. It is cooperative, but you've got the stress. It's just very, very stressful because the app is timing you and all this other stuff. It works so well. I think it's highly thematic. It definitely has legit tension in it. And I've always enjoyed my plays of it. And it feels like an XCOM game. All that tension and all of the thematic elements, and even the way the app looks like kind of a sci-fi monitor grid screen thing, it all clicks together for a great thematic IP game. XCOM.
It certainly raises my blood pressure.
Yes.
I agree.
Next for me is another wonderful implementation of the feel of the original property. That is Firefly. This is called a pick up and deliver game by many, but it's much more of an adventure that uses pick up and deliver. You're assembling a crew of your ship and trying to complete jobs in order to earn money and complete whatever objective it is for that particular scenario. There's all sorts of different ones, ranging from just earning a lot of money to tagging certain areas of the board. It is a sprawling game. With lovely money and ship pieces and expansions that make the board even bigger. And I just love the sense of the, what do they call it, the thrill and heroics, or it uses an exploding dice mechanism that even if you are terrible at something, you can maybe succeed at doing it, which is so much the feel of the show, with this ragtag bunch of folks just trying their best and barely getting by the skin of their teeth. It is not the most mechanically sound. In fact, there's one coming up on somebody's list that may, in fact, be a better game. But this brings to life Firefly so successfully that it needs a spot on the list. So Firefly is my next selection.
Oh, this would have 100% made my list, but I wanted to mix it up a little bit, so I'm glad Eric talked about it. And funny story with this one, when I was starting to come back into modern board gaming, this was one of the kind of, I wouldn't say the first, but one of the earlier games that kind of got me back in. And the person who taught it to me threw it on the table and threw in all the expansions. Here you go, let's play.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, why is this game taking up like 3 tables right now? It was so intense, but I really enjoyed it. So this is one I don't own, but I have friends who have it, and I'm more than happy to play it if it comes to the table.
Yep.
So next on my list is Legendary Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So this one's a hard one because the Legendary, I don't know if you want to call it a series, they're generally not my type of games. I'll be very upfront about that, like deck buildery type games. And I think this one's a semi-co-op game, which, is that really a thing? I have doubts about that whole semi-cooperative thing, but fine, it is what it is. But it drew me in because it has Buffy as a theme, and it doesn't mean that any game with Buffy is going to be great, but I really got into this one, and I think it helped that I'm obsessed with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but I really got into the cards, and as I played the cards, oh yeah, I remember that episode when this happened. So as I'm doing it, it almost turned into a storytelling deck builder game because I was talking about episodes while I was playing, and the person I was playing it with also really like the series. So it's a tough one because is it the best game in the world? Maybe not for some, but I definitely felt the Buffy vibe and it really pushed forward for me to make the game fun. So Legendary Buffy the Vampire Slayer is a weird one for me, but I still really enjoyed it and I loved the theme.
I almost put a Legendary on my list as well, although I think I was leaning toward Marvel just because there's more stuff to explore. But the Buffy version of Legendary is also fantastic. And it has that, what do they call the slider where you sort of go good, evil track? And certain cards are going to slide that in one direction, and that has repercussions as you're playing different cards. So I really like the implementation, and Buffy Legendary is still in my collection as well.
Oh, amazing.
And I think it's really the highest possible praise that you, as a super fan of the show, loves the game and connects to the game and how the game integrated things about the show that you loved.
Right.
That's huge.
Absolutely.
Well, for me, my next slice is Marvel Dice Masters. Dice Masters, in many ways, refines an older game called Quarriors, which I was also a fan of. And in some ways, I'm really sad it doesn't exist anymore in print because I enjoyed Quarriors a lot, in which you have fistfuls of dice that are... The different faces have different abilities, and those are all outlined on a card that represents the dice. And you're going to have this collection of dice. And in Marvel's Dice Masters, you are battling against each other and rolling your dice, assembling your team based on point values of the dice, and then rolling them and just going at each other. The dice icons are clever and thematic to the Marvel character that they represent. Dice Masters has a wide variety of licensed sets, but for me, I'm always going to go back to the original starter of Marvel. I think they did it great. I have a ton of it still, and it's a game that I wish I could play more, but a lot of my friends kind of just, it's just not something we're going to pull out.
Right.
I wish there was an app version because I would get it played more.
Yes.
Yeah.
But Marvel Dice Masters, a great licensed IP game.
Yeah.
Man, Dice Masters, I played a lot of when I worked. Anybody who's listening, Transport Canada, there was like a little group. So they introduced me to, this kind of Dice Masters sort of thing. And I've not played Marvel Dice Masters. Is it? No, I know. Everyone's telling me how good it is. Is it a newer one or is it one that's been out for a while?
That's the original.
That's the original one. Okay, see, I never played the original one. Okay, that's good to know. See, something to add to my list.
Next for me is Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle. A game that it's a deck builder, cooperative deck builder, that has you playing through, at least in the base box, the first 7 stories. You are starting with a very, very simple game, almost too simple, but it's the first story, and then they add more complexity as you open up more boxes. It's almost a legacy feel, but without any permanent changes. You can resort this whole thing as you go, but each of your characters feels like they have their own strength. You've got a special power. Harry is better at attacks, and Hermione is better at spells, and that sort of thing. And as you work your way through the adventure, it gets harder. You have more stuff that you have to complete and more nasty versions of Voldemort to deal with. And so you do feel that ramping up as the missions continue and as you try and complete Game 7 and take out Voldemort for good. It makes me feel like I'm part of the Harry Potter universe, and it also doesn't hurt that the kids have enjoyed that and want to play through it multiple times. Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle.
Yeah, this is definitely a fun one. It's one that unfortunately I haven't been able to get back to the table, but it's still on my shelf. I'm looking forward to playing it again, and I'm actually not bad at it. So, fun times. Next one I have coming up is a little outside of the grid of what I would normally play. And that's actually kind of funny when you know what the game is. But Fallout Wasteland Warfare. So I'm sure lots of people are familiar with Fallout. I know I've played the video game and several of the iterations of that. And Fallout, I think, has come out with several other board games. This is the one that was shown to me by a friend. So it's a friend that has it. And it's one of those games where it has miniatures. You get the measuring sticks, when you're doing combat to make sure you're within the right range. And so, which is something that's not within my realm of gaming. It's not something that I've done a lot of, but I was really happy that my friend introduced it to me because it had the Fallout theme, which I'm a big fan of, and it has like missions, and it has a narrative style kind of objectives that go with that. So I like that sort of thing in my video games, so I like to see that it transcended into the board game as well. Now, you can fall down a hole with this type of game because there are mats, and there are maps, and different figures. There's so many things you can add to the game, making it more robust. So Fallout Wasteland Warfare, I haven't played a lot of it, but what I did play with my friend, I really enjoyed, so I'm looking forward to kind of going deeper into that world.
I've never played it, but I've never played the video game either, so it's just not one that connects to me.
Got it.
Yeah.
And to wrap up with my 3.14, my little bit of pie here, is the better IP-based pick-up and deliver game.
Here we go.
Star Wars Outer Rim. First of all, Star Wars. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Second of all, pick up and deliver. I love pick up and deliver. And Eric, I know you love pick up and deliver too.
Yep.
I'll be honest, a lot of Star Wars games, like the X-Wing game and things like that, it's just not my style of game. And when my friends, Josh and Melissa, said, hey, let me teach you Outer Rim, I was kind of like, okay, I'll play because I love Josh and Melissa. But I played this game with them. I was, whoa, wait a minute. This game is fun.
Yeah.
What? You have this big arc, like the puzzle cut board fits together to be like a big rainbow style arch, and then you've got a ton of cards of different types that are stacked up, and you as a player get your own little ship board that has slots for bounties that you can collect, and you can upgrade it in terms of weaponry and things like that. You also have alliances that you're tracking, whether you're aligned with the rebels or the Hutts or the Empire or things like that. And you're going through and you're moving your representation around the board. The arch has different planets on it. There are secret tokens that you can reveal. You can pick up bounties. You can decide to deliver bounties, or you can get rid of the bounties. Everything is represented in there, from the characters to the ships, the planets that you're used to. The card system reminds me a little of the Crossroads card system, where when you flip over a card, there's different scenarios that you can encounter as you're landing on different planets. I liked this game the first time I played it. I liked it more the second time I played it. I liked it even more the third time I played it. The people I'm most likely to play this game with are my local friends, Josh and Melissa. And they own it, right? So it's like, great, we have a game that we can play together that we love. Yep. And I said, okay, I don't need this game. The people I'm going to play it with already own it, and they'll play it with me whenever I ask. No big deal. Well, that resolve lasted maybe a month. And I couldn't hold back. I know I didn't need it, but I love this game so much from a theme and a mechanism point of view. I just had to own my own copy, so I went out and bought my own copy of Star Wars Outer Rim because it is just a phenomenal licensed IP game.
It is an excellent game, and I think it does many of the things that Firefly does better. It plays more quickly. It has that being hunted feel, the Reavers in Firefly or the various factions in Outer Rim that you can change your standing with. You can sort of be copacetic with them, or you can be on their list that they want to hunt down. It does a lot of this very, very well. And I've only played it the one time, which may be why I haven't bought it. Also that my son hates Star Wars, and so I'd never get it to the table here in the house.
Alas.
Yeah. So last one for me, I picked because I knew Suzanne wouldn't, because we know that Suzanne does work for Restoration Games.
Yes.
So I picked Unmatched. And because each of the characters or teams in Unmatched, your faction, feels different in this game. And many of them are licensed, and much like its predecessor, Star Wars Epic Duels, which I loved for the same reason. If you're playing Vader, it feels like Vader. He has a insta-kill card, or any of the other characters feel different, and the same carries over to Unmatched, where every group you can sort of embody that character, Robin Hood or Bruce Lee, and play with that in mind. And I think it all comes together and feel like you are that people. And there are certain factions I'm really looking forward to that may be related to other things we've talked about here on the program so far. Anyway, Unmatched is my selection.
I still have to play this. Everyone's been talking about it. It's super, super exciting. And alas, I have yet to try it. So, Suzanne, knowing that you work for Restoration, I think you should teach me one of these games.
I'd be delighted to.
So my last slice of IP pie, that sounds really wrong, actually, now that I've said that.
Intellectual pie.
Yeah, intellectual pie might be a better name. It might be a more tasty pie. So I'm going to finish with The Lord of the Rings, Journeys in Middle-earth. So I have to say a big thank you to my friend Matthew, who brought this, drove all the way from Montreal back in the day to bring this game for me to try, because he knew I was a big fan of Mansions of Madness, and this had a very similar feel to it, but instead of using dice, it uses cards. So I don't know if either of you played this game.
No, I've played Mansions of Madness, but not this one.
Okay, so if you played Mansions of Madness, you know it's a type of, I guess it'd be like a scenario adventure type game, and you can play different ones over time, and then some of them are more difficult than others. And in this specific one, you're heroes, and you're trying to explore the wilderness and battle dark forces, which I guess kind of falls in line with the movie. And the game has an app, much like Mansions of Madness, that kind of helps you along with the game and navigate the forest and clearings and things like that. When you're trying to battle, instead of using dice for success for your rolls, you're going to use cards, which I thought was very different, but cool. And I kind of liked that difference in the game. So The Lord of the Rings, Journeys in Middle-earth, again, I don't own it, but I have a lot of friends who do, so that's why I've been able to continue playing it. I really liked it. I like the different take on it from Mansions of Madness. So if you haven't tried it, it's something you should definitely check out.
Alrighty, folks, there you go. Our intellectual property games, game pie. For your enjoyment. If you think we missed an obvious choice, or if you have questions about why Star Wars Outer Rim is so much better than the Firefly game, feel free to reach out. Send us your questions. Eventually, Mandi and I'll do Q&A. It's been a while, Mandi, but
it has been.
Yeah, we should probably think about that. So yeah, send us your questions. You can reach me at Suzanne at Dicetower.com.
You can reach me at Mandi, that's Mandi with an I, at Dicetower.com.
And I'm at Eric with a C, at Dicetower.com.
Eric, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the podcast. It is always, always awesome to have you.
Such a delight.
On a show.
This has been a blast.
Yay.
And thank you, everyone out there. It is a pleasure and privilege to be part of your extended gaming family, and we are just so grateful that you're out there joining us on these gaming adventures. Next episode of the podcast is 675, and Tom and Eric showcase their stellar S games.
Yeah, how many Star Wars games are going to be on that list?
Until next time, I'm Suzanne Sheldon.
I'm Mandi Hutchinson.
And I'm Eric Summerer.
And you've been listening to The Dice Tower.
Thanks for listening. Promotional consideration has been provided by game publishers in the form of review copies of games. This podcast is sponsored by listeners like you. Thank you for your continued support. And speaking of support, the Jack Vassell Memorial Fund is an organization dedicated to helping gamers in need. Learn more about the fund's mission and how you can help at jackvassell.org. The Dice Tower is produced by Tom, Suzanne, Mandi, and Eric with assistance from Roy Canaday and Rob Searing. Our theme is composed by Timothy Pinkham and arranged by Matt Bellier. Let us know what you think of the show by posting to the Dice Tower Guild at BoardGameGeek.com, following the Dice Tower on Twitter, or by emailing us at podcast@dicetower.com. And don't forget to visit the other shows in the Dice Tower Network at dicetowernetwork.com. Until next time, from all the gang at the Dice Tower, have fun gaming. All right, everyone, it is that time again. 2 truths and a lie. So let's take a look at what we talked about last episode. So here we go. I swam with sharks, I swam with manatees, and I swam with dolphins. If you said I swam with sharks was the lie, you would be correct. There is no way my body is going anywhere near sharks. Ooh.
Really? See, and here I would think, I would believe that you would be bold enough to do that.
Oh no, love sharks, but from a distance.
Fair enough. From last episode, I said I've been to a Star Trek convention, I've been to a lawnmower conference, and I've been to a sewing convention. And the lie is that I've been to a sewing convention.
That is shocking to me, especially when I read the lawnmower conference. That, there's a story there.
Briggs and Stratton, good old Wisconsin.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I can't get that out of my mind. All right, so new this episode. Let's see what I've got for you to try and guess. I hope to eventually run a marathon. I've never broken a bone. And I ghost wrote a book with one of my professors. Yeah, so I took a random approach this time.
So random. And new for me this episode, not random. I've been published in a scrapbooking magazine, I've been published in a baking magazine, and I've been published in a board game magazine.
Well, there you have it, everyone. Good luck.